Hey, welcome to Blues for Beginners number 3. What we're going to do in this one is we're going to carry on with our E pentatonic minor scale, but today we're just going to look at some of the techniques we can use for expression. These are things that are techniques, they're just technical, but they really help to bring out the emotion and the musical side of your playing. So let's get started. The first one is bends. Now, for if you're just starting off, I wouldn't recommend trying to get too advanced with bending strings. We've got what we call semitone and tone bends and a tone and a half bends. There's a whole selection of ways to bend strings. But if you're starting off, I would suggest start off with just this one little bend that I'm going to show you right now. And then we'll be looking at others later on. So this is just on it's on the G string. It's actually the G note at fret 12. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play that and I'm just going to bend it ever so slightly. A lot of times that's called like a blues bend. It's like, or a quarter tone or quarter note bend. And that's probably the easiest one, or one of the easiest ones to start off with. It's just that bending that G string, or in fact, it's to say it's a G note. Just bend it slightly. So that's a good place to start. For the bends, that'll work good. And now it's starting to sound less like a scale by just by doing that. Also, we're going to add hammer-ons and pull-offs. Hammer-ons is where we literally just play one note of the scale and then hammer our finger down onto the fretboard onto the other note of the scale. And you can hear how it started to sound less scale-like and more musical. Hammer-ons, the opposite of that is pull-offs, where we start with a higher note and we pull off to the lower note. So we've added bends, a slight one bend anyway. We've added hammer-ons, pull-offs. We've also got a thing which I'm doing automatic there. Forgot to mention, it's just using the vibrato. And that vibrato, again, we'll look at that in more depth later on. But basically what you're doing is you're just basically shaking the note to create a little bit of sustain and a bit of depth and a bit of body to the sound. I mean, if I go like even with the clean sound, you're hearing, you're hearing the note, but you're also hearing the note sustain somewhat, and it gives it a fullness and just helps the note bloom. At the start, the vibrato is something, when you start, it's a bit rough, and it takes quite a while to finesse. But you have to remember, it's what I call a touch instrument. You're creating a sound with your fingertips, just like a cello or a violin or whatever. The sound is really in your fingertips and your hands. So it's just the more you just work at that vibrato, the more precise. And everybody's vibrato is slightly different anyway. Okay, so vibrato, bends, hammer-ons and pull-offs, and the last one slides, I think. Sorry. So we've added vibrato, hammer-ons, pull-offs, bends, slides. That's probably enough for now. I think it's probably all we use anyway, but it's enough for now. With that in mind, just take your, the scale, what you've been doing with it, and just start to add those elements to it. So, for instance, if I play the scale like this, sounds like a scale. But if I start doing this, now it starts to sound more musical. So add those elements to what you've got to the E pentatonic minor scale, and to the little exercises that we looked at in video number 2. And hopefully that'll keep you going until the next one. Okay, all the best. Cheers.